The hospital corridor was buzzing with panic, but everything sounded distant to Ethan as he stared at the doors marked emergency. His heart thudded painfully, not because of fear for his own child, but because he had made a promise years ago, one he was finally keeping. Moments earlier, he had been on his way home from his night shift, exhausted and hungry, when a nurse rushed out asking if anyone with rare O-negative blood type could donate immediately. A little girl was fighting for her life after a roadside accident. Ethan didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. "I'll do it," he said, stepping forward. He had no idea that the child lying unconscious behind those doors belonged to the same woman who once laughed at his struggles, humiliated him in front of an entire office, and sent him home jobless. He only knew a child needed him. And that was enough. The story truly began 3 years earlier. Ethan had been a junior analyst at Blackwood Industries, a massive corporation run by its brilliant but notoriously cold CEO, Alina Blackwood. She was beautiful, composed, and feared by all. Every employee walked on eggshells around her, praying they wouldn't be the next target of her razor-sharp comments. Ethan admired her confidence, but he also knew she had no idea how ordinary people lived, people like him, raising a child alone, juggling 2 jobs just to survive. The day everything changed, Ethan arrived late to a company meeting. His daughter Lily had been sick, and he had spent the entire night at the public clinic. When he walked in, pale and exhausted, Alina didn't even let him speak. "You're late." "Again," she said, her voice echoing through the conference room. I'm sorry. My daughter." "Excuses," she cut him off sharply. "If you can't handle responsibility, perhaps you shouldn't be here." He remembered the quiet chuckles from some of the other employees. He remembered the humiliation burning in his chest. And he remembered the final blow. "You're dismissed. You're no longer needed here." She fired him without a second thought. That very day, Ethan walked out of the building with a small box of his belongings and a heart full of humiliation. He didn't beg. He didn't fight. He just held Lily's hand tighter and told her, "It's okay. Daddy will find something better." But life didn't give him something better. Not immediately. He worked part-time at a garage, cleaned offices at night, delivered groceries on weekends. He slept 3 hours a night. He sacrificed everything for his daughter. And yet, he never held bitterness in his heart. He told himself that maybe Alina Blackwood was going through her own battles, even if she hid them behind flawless makeup and cold eyes. Now, 3 years later, fate brought him to the door of the emergency room where Alina's little girl was fighting for life. Inside the room, Alina stood by her daughter's bed, shaking uncontrollably. For the first time, her power, her fortune, and her authority meant nothing. She was just a terrified mother praying for a miracle. When the doctor walked in and said, "We found a match. The donor is here right now," Alina nearly collapsed with relief. "Who is it?" she asked, breathless. "You'll meet him soon," the doctor replied before rushing back out. 30 minutes later, the transfusion began. Ethan lay on a narrow bed, a needle in his arm, watching the bag slowly fill with his blood. He prayed silently for the little girl he had never met. After the procedure, he walked out of the room, slightly dizzy but determined to go home. He didn't want praise or recognition. He didn't even want thanks. He just wanted to pick up Lily from school. But as he pushed open the door leading to the hallway, he froze. Alina Blackwood stood there. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen from crying, her hands trembling. She looked nothing like the woman who once fired him with a single sentence. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking when she recognized him. He nodded politely, avoiding her eyes. "Your daughter, she'll be okay. The doctor said the transfusion worked." She stared at him in disbelief, her lips trembling. You were the donor?" "Yes." "Why?" she asked, tears filling her eyes again. "After everything I did to you, why?" Ethan sighed softly. "Because a child needed help. And because holding on to anger doesn't heal anything." Alina covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. "I mocked you. I humiliated you. I judged you without knowing your struggles. And today you saved the most precious person in my life." "It doesn't matter," Ethan said gently. "All that matters is that she's safe." But it did matter to Alina, more than he knew. For years, she had carried the weight of her own past. She had built her empire alone, after losing the only parent she had at a young age. She hardened her heart to survive in a world that showed no mercy. Success had become her shield. Power had become her language. But compassion, she had forgotten what that felt like. And now, the men she had once belittled had shown her more humanity in one moment than she had seen in years. The next week, when Ethan came to the hospital for a follow-up check, he found Alina waiting outside with her daughter, Sophie. Sophie ran to him instantly. "Mommy told me you're the hero who saved me." Ethan knelt down, smiling gently. "You're very brave, Sophie." Alina stepped forward, her voice soft. "Ethan. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't have to." "But I want to," she insisted. "I owe you an apology. A real one." She took a deep breath. "I was wrong. And cruel. And blind. I judged you without knowing your situation. I fired you when you needed help the most." Her eyes glistened. "Please forgive me." Ethan nodded slowly. "I forgave you a long time ago." Something inside Alina broke, something cold, something lonely, and for the first time in years, she allowed warmth to enter. She looked at him with newfound respect. "I'm reopening the position you lost, higher rank, better salary, flexible hours. You deserve it. And more." Ethan shook his head. "Thank you, but I want to build something of my own now." She smiled softly. "Then let me help you do that." "Why?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then whispered the truth. "Because you showed me what real strength looks like, and I don't want to lose a person like you again." For the first time, Ethan saw the real Alina, not the CEO, not the strict leader, but a woman trying to heal, trying to change. And he realized something too. People weren't defined by their mistakes, but by the courage they showed when trying to fix them. 6 months later, Ethan stood inside his own small startup office, a business Alina had invested in, not out of pity, but out of belief. Their daughters, Lily and Sophie, played together near the window, laughing. Alina walked in carrying coffee, sunlight catching in her hair. "Your team is growing," she said with a smile. "So is your kindness," he replied. She looked at him, her voice soft. "Ethan. I'm truly grateful our paths crossed again." "So am I." For the first time, she reached for his hand, not as a CEO seeking redemption, but as a human being seeking connection. Ethan took her hand gently. Life had broken them in different ways. But somehow, fate had brought them together to heal. And that was the message Ethan carried with him. Kindness doesn't erase the past, but it has the power to rebuild the future.